Hare Krishna. Chapter 34. Vidyahara liberated and the demon Sankachuda killed. Once upon a time... Can I begin? Okay. Once upon a time, the cowherdmen of Vrindavan, headed by Nanda Maharaj, decided to go to Ambikavan to observe Shivaratri ceremony. The Rasa Leela was performed during the autumn, and after that, the next big ceremony is Holi, or the Dalayatra ceremony. Between the Dalayatra ceremony and the Rasa Leela ceremony, there is an important ceremony called Shivaratri, which is especially observed by the Shaivites, or the devotees of Lord Shiva. Sometimes, the Vaishnavas also observe this ceremony because they accept Lord Shiva as the foremost Vaishnava. But the function of Shivaratri is not observed regularly by the bhaktas, or devotees of Krishna. Under the circumstances, Srimad Bhagavatam states that Nanda Maharaj and the other cowherd men once upon a time desired. This means that they were not regularly observing the Shivaratri function, but that once upon a time they wanted to go to Ambikavan out of curiosity. Ambikavan is somewhere in Gujarat province, and it is said to be situated on the river Saraswati. Yet we do not find any Saraswati river in Gujarat province, although there is a river named Savarmati. In India, all the big places of pilgrimage are situated on nice rivers, like the Ganges, Yamuna, Saraswati, Narmada, Godavari, and Kaveri. Ambikavan was situated on the bank of Saraswati, and Nanda Maharaj and all the other cowherd men went there. They very devotedly began to worship the deity of Lord Shiva and Ambika. It is the general practice that wherever there is a temple of Lord Shiva, there must be another temple of Ambika or Durga, because Ambika is the wife of Lord Shiva and is the most exalted of chaste women. She doesn't live outside the association of her husband. After reaching Ambikavan, the cowherd men of Vrindavan first bathed themselves in the river Saraswati. If one goes to any place of pilgrimage, his first duty is to take a bath and sometimes to shave his head. That is the first business. After taking a bath, they worshiped the deities and then distributed charity in the holy places. According to the Vedic system, charity is given to the Brahmanas. It is stated in the Vedic Shastras that only the Brahmanas and Sannyasis can accept charity. The cowherd men from Vrindavan gave the Brahmanas cows decorated with golden ornaments and beautiful garlands. The Brahmanas are given charity because they are not engaged in any business profession. They are supposed to be engaged in Brahminical occupations, as described in the Bhagavad-Gita. Namely, they must be very learned and must perform austerity and penances. Not only must they themselves be learned, but they must also teach others. Brahmanas are not meant to be Brahmanas alone. They should create other Brahmanas also. If a man is found who agrees to become a Brahmana's disciple, he is also given the chance to become a Brahmana. The Brahmana is always engaged in the worship of Lord Vishnu. Therefore, the Brahmanas are eligible to accept all kinds of charity. But if the Brahmanas receive excess charity, they are to distribute it for the service of Vishnu. In the Vedic scriptures, therefore, one is recommended to give charity to the Brahmanas, and by doing so, one pleases Lord Vishnu and all the demigods. The pilgrims take a bath, worship the deity, and give charity. They are also recommended to fast one day. They should go to a place of pilgrimage and stay there for at least 3 days. The first day is spent fasting, and at night they can drink a little water, because water does not break the fast. The cowherd men headed by Nanda Maharaj spent that night on the bank of the Saraswati. They fasted all day and drank a little water at night. But while they were taking rest, a great serpent from the nearby forest appeared before them and hungrily began to swallow up Nanda Maharaj. Nanda cried out helplessly, "My dear son Krishna, please come and save me from this danger. This serpent is swallowing me." When Nanda Maharaj cried for help, all the cowherd men got up and saw what was happening. They immediately took up burning logs and began to beat the snake to kill it. But in spite of being beaten with burning logs, the serpent was not about to give up swallowing Nanda Maharaj. At that time, Krishna appeared on the scene and touched the serpent with his lotus feet. Immediately upon being touched by the lotus feet of Krishna, the serpent shed its reptilian body and appeared as a very beautiful demigod named Vidyadhara. His bodily features were so beautiful that he appeared to be worshipable. There was a luster and effulgence emanating from his body, and he was garlanded with a gold necklace. He offered obeisances to Lord Krishna and stood before him with great humility. Krishna then asked the demigod, "You appear to be a very nice demigod, and to be favored by the goddess of fortune. How is it that you performed such abominable activities that got you the body of a serpent?" The demigod then began to narrate the story of his previous life. "My dear Lord," he said, "in my previous life, I was named Vidyadhara and was known all over the world for my beauty. Because I was a celebrated personality, I used to travel all over in my airplane. While traveling, I saw a great sage named Angira. He was very ugly, and because I was very proud of my beauty, I laughed at him. Due to this sinful act, I was condemned by the great sage to assume the form of a serpent." One should note here that before being favored by Krishna, a person is always under the modes of material nature, however elevated he may be materially. Vidyadhara was a materially elevated demigod, and he was very beautiful. He also held a great material position and was able to travel all over by airplane. Yet, he was condemned to become a serpent in his next life. Any materially elevated person can be condemned to an abominable species of life if he is not careful. It is a misconception that after reaching the human body, one is never degraded. Vidyadhara himself stated that even though he was a demigod, he was condemned to become a serpent. But because he was touched by the lotus feet of Krishna, he immediately came to Krishna consciousness. He admitted, however, that in his previous life he was actually sinful. A Krishna-conscious person knows that he is always the servant of Krishna. He is most insignificant, and whatever good he does is by the grace of Krishna and the spiritual master. The demigod Vidyadhara continued to speak to Sri Krishna. "Because I was very proud of the exquisite beauty of my body," he said, "I derided the ugly features of the great sage Angira. He cursed me for my sin, and I became a snake. Now I consider that this curse by the sage was not at all a curse. It was a great benediction for me. Had he not cursed me, I would not have assumed the body of a serpent and would not have been kicked by your lotus feet, and thus freed from all material contamination. In material existence, 4 things are very valuable: to be born in a decent family, to be very rich, to be very learned, and to be very beautiful. These are considered to be material assets. Unfortunately, without Krishna consciousness, these material assets sometimes become sources of sin and degradation. Despite Vidyadhara's being a demigod and having a beautiful body, he was condemned to the body of a snake due to pride. Therefore, from this incident, we can learn that those who are too proud of their material assets or who are inimical toward others are degraded to the bodies of snakes. A snake is considered to be the most cruel and envious living entity, but those who are human beings are envious of others are considered to be even more vicious than snakes. The snake can be charmed or controlled by mantras and herbs, but a person who is envious cannot be controlled by anyone. My dear Lord, Vidyadhara continued, now, since I think I've become freed from all kinds of sinful activities, I'm asking your permission to return to my abode, the heavenly planets. This request indicates that persons who are attached to fruitive activities, desiring promotion to the comforts of higher planetary systems, cannot achieve their ultimate goal of life without the sanction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It is also stated in the Bhagavad-Gita that the less intelligent want to achieve material benefits and therefore worship different kinds of demigods, but that they actually get the benedictions from the demigods through the permission of Lord Vishnu or Krishna. Demigods have no power to bestow material profit. Even if one is attached to material benedictions, he should worship Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and ask him. Krishna is completely able to give even material benedictions. There is a difference, however, between asking material benedictions from the demigods and asking them from Krishna. Dhruva Maharaj worshipped the Supreme Personality of Godhead for a material benediction, but when he actually achieved the favor of the Supreme Lord and saw him, he was so satisfied that he refused to accept any material benediction. The intelligent person does not worship the demigods or ask favors from them. He directly becomes Krishna conscious, and if he has any desire for material benefit, he asks Krishna, not the demigods. Vidyadhara, awaiting Krishna's permission to return to the heavenly planets, said, "Now, because I've been touched by your lotus feet, I'm relieved of all kinds of material pangs. You are the most powerful of all mystics. You are the original Supreme Personality of Godhead. You're the master of all devotees. You are the proprietor of all planetary systems, and therefore I'm asking your permission. You may accept me as a fully surrendered unto you. I know very well that persons who are constantly engaged in chanting your holy name attain release from all kinds of sinful reactions, and certainly persons who are fortunate enough to be personally touched by your lotus feet are freed. Therefore, I am sure that I am now relieved of the curse of the Brahmanas simply by seeing you and being touched by your lotus feet." In this way, Vidyadhara got permission from Lord Krishna to return to his home in the higher planetary system. After receiving this permission, he circumambulated the Lord and offered his respectful obeisances unto him. And then he returned to his heavenly planet. Thus, Nanda Maharaj was relieved of the imminent danger of being devoured by the snake. The cowherd men who had come to execute the ritualistic function of worshipping Lord Shiva and Ambika finished their business and prepared to return to Vrindavan. While returning, they recalled the wonderful activities of Krishna. By relating the incident of Vidyadhara's deliverance, they became more attached to Krishna. They had come to worship Lord Shiva and Ambika, but the result was that they became more attached to Krishna. Similarly, the gopis worshipped the goddess Katyayani to become more and more attached to Krishna. It is stated in the Bhagavad-Gita that persons who are attached to worshipping demigods like Lord Brahma, Shiva, Indra, and Chandra for some personal benefit are less intelligent and have forgotten the real purpose of life. But the cowherd men, inhabitants of Vrindavan, were no ordinary men. Whatever they did for Krishna. If one worships demigods like Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma to become more attached to Krishna, that is approved. But if one goes to the demigods for some personal benefit, that is condemned. After this incident, on a very pleasant night, Krishna and his elder brother Balaram, who are inconceivably powerful, went out into the forest of Vrindavan. They were accompanied by the damsels of Rajabhumi, and they began to enjoy their company. The young damsels of Raj were very nicely dressed and anointed with pulp of sandalwood and decorated with flowers. The moon was shining in the sky, surrounded by glittering stars. The breeze was blowing, bearing the aroma of malika flowers, and the bumblebees were mad after the aroma. Taking advantage of the pleasing atmosphere, Krishna and Balaram began to sing very melodiously. The damsels became so absorbed in their rhythmical song that they almost forgot themselves. Their hair loosened, their clothes slackened, and their garlands began to fall to the ground. At that time, while Krishna, Balaram, and the damsels were so much absorbed, almost in madness, a demonic associate of Kuvera, the treasurer of the heavenly planets, appeared on the scene. The demon's name was Sankachuda, because on his head there was a valuable jewel resembling a conch shell. Just as the two sons of Kuvera had been puffed up over their wealth and opulence and did not care for Narada Muni's presence, this Sankachuda was also puffed up over material opulence. He thought that Krishna and Balaram were two ordinary cowherd boys enjoying the company of many beautiful girls. Generally, in the material world, a person with riches thinks that all beautiful women should be enjoyed by him. Sankachuda also thought that, since he belonged to the rich community of Kuvera, he, not Krishna and Balaram, should enjoy the company of so many beautiful girls. He therefore decided to take charge of them. He appeared before Krishna, Balaram, and the damsels of Vraj and began to lead the girls away to the north. He commanded them as if he were their proprietor and husband, despite being in the presence of Krishna and Balaram. Being forcibly taken away by Sankachuda, the damsels of Vraj called out the names of Krishna and Balaram for protection. The two brothers immediately began to follow them, taking up big logs of sala wood in their hands. Don't be afraid, they called to the gopis. We're coming at once to chastise this demon. Very quickly, they reached Sankachuda. Thinking the brothers too powerful, Sankachuda left the company of the gopis and ran in fear for his life. But Krishna would not let him go. He entrusted the gopis to the care of Balaram and followed Sankachuda wherever he fled. Krishna wanted to take the valuable jewel, resembling a conch shell, from the head of the demon. After following him a very short distance, Krishna caught him, struck his head with his fist, and killed him. He then took the valuable jewel and returned. In the presence of all the damsels of Vraj, he presented the valuable jewel to his elder brother Balaram. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport of the 34th chapter of Krishna, Vidyadhara liberated and the demon Sankachuda killed.
Om Gyanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Dapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Shabdham Vandehang Shri Guru Shri Jatapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagarsatam Shagana Raganatan Vitam Stam Sajiva Shadvaitam Shavatutam Pradijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Shagana Valita Sri Vishakan Vitamstra Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bando Jagat Pate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostade Tapta Kamshana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Prishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Odipriye Vansha Kopatarubhyascha Kripasandubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So there are two pastimes here. One concerns the demigod Vidyadhara, who committed an offense to Angira Muni. The Vidyadhara offended Angira Muni and became a serpent, but was delivered by the touch of Krishna. In this regard, we're also reminded of the pitfall of pride. Pride will, one who becomes puffed up. Hold on 1 second. One who's puffed up will have a hard time in spiritual progress. One should always remember that one is a servant of Krishna. The other pastime concerns the forest fire. Yeah. Not the forest fire, the Shankatruta demon, who double spaced out today. So he was envious. He thought, why should Krishna and Balaram be enjoying these beautiful girls? I should be enjoying. But the Krishna and Balaram began to follow the fleeing demon. And finally Krishna killed him and took the jewel and gave it to Balaram. Okay, that's about as much as I'm going to say. Any questions, any comments, anything? Yes. I'll take some more water.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Maharaj, this is a question is related to the chapter only, but it's for my knowledge. They're circumambulating, Vidyadhar circumambulating Krishna and then going. Vidyadhar.
Yadava community? Which?
Vidyadhar, he circumambulates Krishna, gives his obeisances, pays his obeisances and goes
Vidyadhara.
away. Vidyadhar, yes. So regarding this word circumambulating, so since our childhood, when we used to go to temple, we used to circumambulate the whole deities. We had the passage of circumambulating in India.
Yeah.
But when there is not that possibility of circumambulating the deity, there is no space. So my mother taught me to stand in one place and circumambulate 3 times and do
circumambulate what?
In one place.
You mean
just myself, myself circumambulating 3 times and then, being. So this is not the correct way of.
No, you faded out at the end.
Is this the wrong way of?
I don't know.
Yeah, because standing in one place and then 3 rounds.
Someplace in Nectar of Devotion it says one shouldn't circumambulate in front of the deity. Isn't that there?
Because recently I was doing in my god sister's place, home, because the deities are there, but I couldn't circumambulate the whole altar. So I did in my place. So she said this is not the correct way of it. So I just wanted to confirm.
Yeah, I think in Nectar of Devotion it said that one shouldn't circumambulate before the deity. Now, whether that means circumambulate has 2 meanings. One is to walk in a circle like that. The other is just to walk around. So I don't know what's intended there.
Thank you, Maharaj.
That's as much as I know.
Krishna Maharaj, the one point I just wanted to your attention in that they just completely forgot. But anyway, it's
we're on the same wavelength.
Now I remember I still forgot Maharaj.
It's spreading. Go ahead, at your own risk. Oh, I see.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Is it okay if I ask a question about the
A
Bhagavad-Gita?
little louder?
Can I ask a question about the Bhagavad-Gita?
Yeah.
Today I was in a class for chapter 11, and the point was made that, no one could kill Arjuna because Krishna was with him. But we see that other great devotees were killed, like Bhishma, and, just in life in general. So I guess I just want to kind of understand, because I know I can't trust that Krishna will protect me materially, but that's very hard to grasp.
It's hard to grasp that Krishna won't protect you materially.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, at least we can understand that only Krishna can protect you materially. What is that? Mare Krishna Rakeke? Rake Krishna Mareke. Someone wants to, if Krishna wants to kill someone, no one can protect him. If Krishna wants to protect someone, no one can kill him. Finally, whether we live or die is up to Krishna. It's not in my hand. That Prahlad Maharaj's verse is also there. That Pitaro Nishringa, what is that? Bala Shanea. Sharanam Pitaro Nishringa. That a child may be well protected by his parents and still die, or not unprotected and still live. And someone may have a very good doctor and still die, or no doctor and still live. They have a strong boat and drown, no boat and live. So it's finally up to Krishna what happens to us. It's finally up to Krishna what happens. So I might as well depend on Krishna, since no one else actually has the power to save me. Deha pacha kalatradishu atmasanyesha. So it should be. Everyone else is fallible, so I should depend on Krishna. Then it's up to Krishna. He wants to kill me? All right, very well. If he wants to save me, then he will. Is that okay?
I was wondering, could we also apply it to other situations? Because then, like, I think Prabhupada made the point that we should be fearless, but with this understanding, we could walk down the streets and, anything could happen, not necessarily like us dying, but, any terrible calamity. So then how do we become fearless?
How do we become fearless? Of course, by being Krishna conscious. Bhayam dvitiya vinibeshatasya. Fear comes by thinking there's something other than Krishna. If we see that everything is coming from Krishna, then where's the fear? Tatrako mahakashoka ekatam anupashita. Yeah. Hare Nam Anukirtanam, one becomes fearless by constant chanting of Hare Krishna. What is that? Ichchito. Ichchitamakuto Bhayam. Then Nipanam Yoginam Api Nirnitam Hare Nam Anukirtanam. Etan Nirvidyamanam. Sukadeva Goswami said to Parikshit Maharaj, if you want to be fearless, then everyone has decided the best thing is to go on chanting the holy name of Krishna. Then, where's the question of anxiety or fear? The worst you can do is have your head cut off in a dream. Is that okay? Something Nothing else? Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
We have our free will, and in this life we have to use our free will to choose for Krishna. But sometimes it seems that through our conditioning we are pushed to choose for something else. How do we get the strength to choose something else than our conditioning is pushing us towards?
By chanting Hare Krishna. By developing strength in devotional service, by hearing, by chanting, by reading, by remembering the instructions of the spiritual master, the instructions of Krishna. By devotional service, one develops strength. There's no other way. Yeah. Sure. Yes. Wow.
Hare Krishna. Also, thank you so much for reading with so much emotion. And my question is regarding of course, Vidyadhara, since he was touched by Krishna's lotus feet, and yet he wanted to go back to his abode, like to his home.
Yeah.
Why is that so? Not like
I was wondering, I've wondered about that also. It appears, well, rather than speculate, I believe there's a comment on it. Let me see what the acharyas have to say. I'm in the wrong place. No, you're the wrong place to find the comments. I was looking for wrong device. Hold on 1 second. Baladev Vijibhushan and Jiva Goswami don't seem to speak to that topic. No, wait. Yes, here. Hold on. Jiva Goswami says, sort of paraphrasing or projecting a conversation between the Vidyadhara and Krishna, wherever I reside, I will always desire to surrender to you. That's expressed in this verse 16. I take shelter of you, Prapanna. But that's rarely achieved. But you're endowed with unlimited spiritual powers, Mahayogan, since you're the Supreme Lord, Mahapurusha. Then, moving ahead, therefore you've given persons like Putana the position of devotees. Therefore you should fulfill the desire of a person surrendered to you. Now that I've been delivering a fallen person like me as part of your pastime. Now that I've been successful, please allow me to return to my planet. But you desire to go to a planet other than that desired by those who surrender to me. Oh, all planets are yours. You're the controller of all planets, Sarveshwara. I've been blessed by you, the Antaryami, who gives the results of all action. What can I do in this case? That's the extent of Jiva Goswami's comment on it. They're all planets of yours. Doesn't quite fully answer, perhaps, but gives you something to work with. Okay.
Thank you so much, Maharaj.
Better than my speculating, isn't it?
I would love to hear that too, if you don't mind. I would love to hear your so-called speculations.
No, I didn't have one. I would have had to cook one up. Something else? Hold on, let's give you a microphone. You may not have a question, but at least you'll have a microphone.
Hare Krishna. Maharaj, this last point of this paragraph where the intelligent person does not worship the demigods or ask favors from them, he directly becomes Krishna conscious. And if he has any desire for material benefit, he asks Krishna, not the demigods. So I just wanted to understand this point. Because Krishna is being our loving father, he knows what is good for us and what is bad for us. And even if we have the hankering for something we're desiring very earnestly, ardently, it doesn't provide. Even if we are like crying or just praying to the altar, please give me this, we are crying within and do it. But he knows what is best for in long term, and he doesn't provide you. So sometimes the mercy comes in a hard way. Generally we want to be in an easy way, but sometimes it comes in hard way, and we don't have that intelligence to understand that thing. So I just wanted to understand how come we can pray to Krishna for the material benefit, for material desire, if we not ask for demigod, because demigod are supposed to be the servitor of Krishna, and they are in charge of those material desires, and we can approach them, we can ask all those things. But how come we approach directly to Krishna? Because just wanted to understand this point. And First, you just say something.
How can one approach Krishna?
How come we can ask Krishna for?
Krishna is the Father, so you can approach him for anything. If you can approach the demigods, anyway, Mayava Vihitan Hitan. Tepi Mam Eva Kontya. No, Mayava Tepi Mam Eva Kontya. No, Mayava Vihitan Hitan. They're Antavatu Palam Tesham Tad Bhavatyopa. Those who are less intelligent worship some demigod. But the more intelligent understand that, well, Krishna is providing, he's ordering the demigod, why don't I just go to Krishna? Why should I go to the demigod? The demigod will only give me limited benefits. He can grant my request. You want money, you want fame, they can do that. But that's the extent of it. I won't get anything higher than that. But if I go to Krishna, then I can get the material thing, or I can get better than that. In any case, let me go to Krishna. The fortunate person, Sukritina. Sukriti, a person who has sufficient pious credit, he doesn't think of going to some other demigod, he thinks of going to Krishna. You may argue that it's not, if I go to the demigod, it's like a slam dunk case. I go to Lord Shiva, he's Ashutosh, I worship him, he's easily satisfied, I get what I wanted. So if I'm smart, I'll go to Lord Shiva, because then I'll get my petition granted. With Krishna, you don't know, he might or might not. So let me go to Lord Shiva. Who was thinking like that so many, of course, they've approached Lord Shiva. Why should I go to Krishna? Even Arjuna was sometimes thinking, let me worship Shiva. But then why would a person go to Krishna? Sukritina. Because he has previous spiritual credit, because he's fortunate, because he's had the association of devotees. He just automatically thinks, no, I should approach Krishna. That Dhruva Maharaj, by the advice of his mother, he thought, let me go to Krishna. Let me go to Krishna. Then he got all of his desires fulfilled, material and spiritual. And a person's less fortunate, he'll do the calculation and say, no, Lord Shiva or Durga, or according to his desire. But the things that he gets, antavatu palam tesha, they'll have a beginning and an end. Therefore, only the less intelligent persons worship the demigods in order to get something like that. More intelligent persons worship Krishna. Then even if I don't get my material thing, I'll get better.
Maharaj, all these material things we get from demigods is like, in the beginning you may get it for some times, and later you have to just, like, quota finish and you have to just...
You have to give it up again.
Yeah. But if at all, Krishna giving all those material things, does it have this,
no,
potency for love or something like that?
Of course, Dhruva Maharaj, he was praying for a kingdom, and look what he got. Yeah, he got a kingdom that lasted as long as that of his grandfather, Lord Brahma, great-grandfather, Lord Brahma. He got a lifetime of thousands and thousands of years with full strength of the senses. He got everything, and it lasted for a long time. But even that long time is still temporary.
Another point, Maharaj, when in this some of the paragraph, this charity points comes, where if only the Brahmana and the sannyasis are supposed to receive charity.
Yes.
Because they were the ones who are eligible in all totality for that, receiving those charity, and only those who are like entitled for receiving those charity should be given only charity, because you never know, if you give charity, that they may use or misuse that charity. So in that point it says, if a Brahmana gets surplus amount of charity, he distributes among like people to enhance or upgrade the Krishna consciousness. Or neither he should be alone be learned, he should make other learned and propagate Krishna consciousness or whatever, pious thing. So this point I also wanted to understand. What does that mean to get surplus and how to distribute and how to propagate and all this in charity?
A Brahmin may get more than he needs. He may get less or he may get more. But suppose he gets more, and he thinks, what am I going to do with this? He doesn't think, like a materialist thinks, well, I got 5 sweaters, let me put them in my closet. I got, 3 televisions, I'll put one in each room. Whatever he gets, he thinks somehow or other, let me hold on to it. You never know when I might need it. Or whatever. He accumulates. Materialists like to accumulate, atyahara, more than they need. So one is advised to distribute, don't keep more than you need. So we may get something very nice, but then if I don't need it, let me pass it on to others. One time we saw one of my godbrothers, Saji Sutta, gave Srila Prabhupada a very, really opulent sweater in Boston, which is a cold place. Gave Prabhupada a thick, beautiful sweater. And Prabhupada took off his sweater and gave it to Saji Sutta. Not that now I have 2, now I have 3. We saw Prabhupada do that too. Someone gave him a very, very expensive watch, and Prabhupada took it, and then someone gave him another watch, not nearly as nice, and Prabhupada gave him the expensive one.
Whenever if he gets another watch or something, he immediately used to give. That shows how much detached he was from those material things which we generally hanker, to get an expensive watch or expensive something like that. And Maharaj, how much is too much, because you never know how, because you never know, what is the limit of your, collective mentality.
Well, according to your level of detachment, someone, the Goswamis, they wouldn't keep something from morning to the evening. Just whatever they needed, that was enough. Or whatever they got that they could use now, that was enough. If they got more, they were passing it on. So if you're really a vairagi, you may just hardly keep anything. Otherwise, if you have a little calculation, you may think, well, summer's coming and I may need this, or the winter's coming, I may need that. But it comes to a point where you look, whatever your level of renunciation, you look and say, what am I going to do with that? So generally, that's the mentality of a devotee. Vairagyam samupashrita. He doesn't, it's not in his nature. Like the materialist, it's his nature. More. Devotee is the opposite nature. Less. What am I going to do with more? Why should I want more? He's, it's his nature, even like Sudama Brahman, to the point where Krishna thought this was too much. He's practically attached to being poor. But that's the general tendency of the devotee, not to want more, but to be happy with less. So exactly what less is, exactly what more is, that, you have to see according to your own situation. The elephant needs more, the ant needs more. But the idea is that we should try to be satisfied with less, not with more. Is that okay? More Krishna consciousness. If you want more, that's the thing to get more of. Yes, you had a question?
had a comment, but you already went over it, Maharaj.
Okay. Yes.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna Maharaj. Maharaj, there is one statement of Srila Prabhupada that as soon as you have material body, the lusty desire will be there. And he also said in Canto 1 ki, if you finish Canto 9 and if you see yourself,
If you
finish till Canto 9, when you read Srimad Bhagavatam, and then you check yourself, if you still have sex desire or lusty desire, don't go to Canto 10, go to Canto 1 again and then read it.
Where did Prabhupada say that?
I think he said somewhere in Canto 1, if I'm wrong.
It's not in Canto 1. No, there's not a statement like that.
There's no statement like that?
No.
Okay, sorry.
But Prabhupada says that first we should go through the first 9 cantos, then come to the 10th canto. But I haven't seen, if you have lusty desires, go back to Canto 1. That's pushing it too far. I haven't seen that.
Okay, sorry for that. So there's no question from my side. So there's no question from my side.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anything else? Sankachuda killed.
Whereas this Sankachuda, he was killed for, being more competitive for Krishna's, like Krishna. He was enjoying this, beautiful girls, gopis. And he just have the desire to enjoy those beautiful, women. So this tendency to, just to compete with Krishna in any aspect or respect, that Krishna has so much opulences, this, that, whatnot. And this, when even in material world, even in devotee society, we see this tendency to just compete, like, this to become more famous, become more, have 4 followers, and to look more, beautiful in many sense, and to, get the attention of other people. This tendency is very secretly, is very much in devotee society and devotee mind as well. So this, how come this tendency, can be removed from this devotee's mindset and people in general?
Well, how do we remove this tendency for wanting to get profit, fame, adoration, all these things? That's the question. Yeah. We should want to see Krishna glorified. We should remember that we're servants of Krishna. And therefore, let Krishna be glorified. Why should I be glorified? By training, by culture, by philosophy, by purification of heart. We should become, restored to our natural. We're in a weird way of functioning. We're functioning in a disease condition. So let me eat the wrong thing, or nothing's going to work. And nothing works right when you're in a disease condition. But when you're in a healthy condition, then everything works right. So when our mind is working right, then we think, why should I try to enjoy this? Let Krishna enjoy this. So if there's fame, let the fame be for Krishna. If there's profit, let Krishna get the profit. Why should it be for me? What is that? Yeah. It's not just that we want to avoid fame, but we want the fame to go to Krishna. We want the profit to go to Krishna. We want the adoration to go to Krishna. So when one is trained as a devotee, then one cultivates that mentality. Is that okay? Okay. Yes.
Hare Krishna. How do we draw the line between encouragement and puffing up someone's ego? Because everybody needs encouragement in service, but then too much of that can puff up their ego.
How do we tell the difference between puffing someone up and
Encouragement.
encouragement? Yeah. Of course, encouragement doesn't have to be by false ego. You're great. But you did something nice. Krishna's helping you. Krishna in relationship to Krishna, and there's no false ego. Sometimes we do puff someone up for their own benefit. Oh, you look like you're a wise person. Or you look like you're very peaceful. What's your secret?
On book distribution.
Yeah. So if we puff someone up a little bit so they think, oh, yes, and he buys your book, good. But, yeah, but not on and on and on.
Yeah. But I'm thinking amongst devotees, because I mean, when we're preaching, it's a different story.
Yeah. Yeah, just not false that you're the greatest thing since all rice and chapatis. Just appreciating it's nice kirtan or a nice class, encouraging. So that they'll be enthusiastic to do more service. That's the point. That kills false ego. False ego means that I do it for my own enjoyment, my own whatever. But encouraging people to increase their enthusiasm to serve Krishna, then that will be good. And also, if one is expert, encouraging them for their devotion rather than for their beautiful voice or their mundane assets. But even, we appreciate someone has a nice voice, they're a good cook, they're this or that. So encouragement is not bad. You're serving Krishna very nicely, go on. Do more service. Prabhupada would encourage us. But not falsely that whatever nonsense you've done is very, very good. Not indiscriminate encouragement. We shouldn't encourage nonsense. But when someone's nice, doing nicely, then it's good. Like a child does something nice, very, very good. And if the child is nonsense, you say, stop this nonsense. I don't have any profound thing to add. One thing is that when this camera's in a different place, or I'm in a different place, so I can't see the clock anymore. I don't know what happened. Used to be I could see the clock. Yes. Oh, that's better. Now I can see the clock. Thank you.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Maharaj, we live in a society which is we live in a world which is very polarized.
Very
Polarized. And our society is not, it's not that we are not affected by that. So how do we stay away from taking sides and rejoin it, just an addition to it?
How do we stay away from taking sides on materially polarized topics? Close your Facebook account.
And not just material, Maharaj, we have polarization on every topic, whether it's material or spiritual here in the world.
One thing is to look at it and consider whether it's my business or not. I may have an opinion on this, that, and the other thing, and I may speak out on this, that, and the other thing. Is there any point to it? Is it my duty? Is it going to make a difference? Or am I just adding to the hot air circulating in the atmosphere? If I'm in a position where it's my duty, then I should take a stand if necessary. Maybe involve polarization, but it's my duty. And if it's not, why do I need to get involved in in other people's decisions, really? Or from another point of view, why should I waste my time? Do I really need to spend time on the pros and cons of this and that and the other thing? Or is it Maya's trick to keep me out of Srimad Bhagavatam? Is that time I could use more valuably for Srimad Bhagavatam? Is it really something that I need to invest my attention in? What if there were no internet? Would the question be solved anyway?
Much. But sometimes we say that ISKCON is our house, and we all have a collective responsibility.
That's rubbish. Yeah, I don't have a collective. If they're trying to decide what books to order in Moscow, how is it part of my collective responsibility? I have nothing to do with it. If they're, building a new temple in Zanzibar, how is it part of my collective responsibility? If everything is part of my collective responsibility, the amount of responsibility I'm going to have is going to be overwhelming. Why is everything my responsibility? In the Bhagavad-Gita, Krishna says, paradharmat svanustita. What is that? Shreyos dharma viguna. Paradharma, better do your own duty than somebody else's duty. But if everything's my duty, that becomes meaningless. If everybody's business is now my business, then there's nothing that's not my business. So then Krishna's words in the Bhagavad-Gita become meaningless. Better to do your own duty. No, everybody's duty is my duty. It's all part of my collective responsibility. No, you take some responsibility according to your prescribed duty and according to, what you can actually make a difference with, or you can actually do something with. Sure, it would be better if there were people were more fired up for book distribution in Puerto Rico. But are you going to Puerto Rico anytime soon? So how is it part of your responsibility? The idea doesn't make much sense to me.
Just addition to that. So let's take an example. Like, say we are in Krishna Balram Mandir, and we see someone, I don't know, giving out some dubious literature here. And I could just ignore it and say, okay, not my temple, not my management. I can just ignore it. Or I can take a responsibility. No, it's my house. I must say something to him. So would it come under my responsibility, or?
Well, depending on what's what, you might go to somebody and say, this is going on, because there is a local management. You can go to, and they may say, well, this, that, or the other thing. So not that everything I take in my own hands. There's a local management. You can go to the local management and say, this is what's going on. Or some things you may take. Vrindavan is sort of special. You all have an interest in Vrindavan. And you may take some kind of responsibility, but in a limited sort of way, because we don't know what everything, we don't see what everything actually is. We don't see what everything actually is. So if we insert ourselves in everything or in something, we may not know the repercussions. We think that we're doing something responsible, smart, we're standing up for Prabhupada, and instead you're messing something up because you don't really understand what's in the background. So a little carefully.
Thank you much.
if it seems really important and it's not getting attention, then you may really jump up and down in front of the management and say, what about this? What about this? What about this? Until you get some sort of, or you even go above the local management and say, what's going on here? But that's probably not a daily matter. But, if it's something that serious, you may take it all the way upstairs and say, what's going on? This is our house, Prabhupada's house, what's happening? Not that we just bury our heads and say, well, it's not my duty, and I guess somebody knows what's going on. Something may be seriously wrong and you see it. And then it becomes your duty. What should be done?
Thank you much.
Hare Krishna, Maharaj. So one of the New Age philosophies is that if I see a fault in someone, then that means I have that fault in myself. So I was just wondering if you could comment on that.
If I see a fault in someone, I must have it myself. There's a certain wisdom to that. Very often I see, what is that, Atmavan Manyate Jagad, that we project our own mentality onto others. But it's not always true. If I see that somebody's robbing a bank, it must mean that I'm a bank robber. I see that someone's, molesting someone. Well, it must be, I wouldn't see it unless I had. Sort of taking psychological insight too far. Otherwise, there's just, as it has its place. We project onto others our own faults, and we don't see don't see it within us. That's there, but it's not the only. It's not the governing principle of the universe that explains everything. It's not that.
Thank you. And can I ask something else? Also, part of the New Age philosophy is that, let's say I focus on numbers. Like if I see 1111 as an example, then that means that the desire I have, I must then fulfill it or something. Or they give their own interpretation to different synchronistic events. And I'm just wondering...
Numerology?
Not really. More like you'll see numbers, but then you'll think, oh, that must be auspicious, and I can give my own interpretation on what that means. So my question is, because I'm preaching and I encounter many people like this, and I'm just wondering how...
Where are you preaching?
In South Africa.
South Africa.
Sorry. So I'm just wondering, how could I speak to these people in a gentle
Just take every
way?
number. You're right. 11 and 11 is a really auspicious number. Today must be a very special day for you. So exactly. So you may not have seen this book before, but I think, today this book was, you were destined to find it. And if it's a really terrible number, 666 or whatever it is, then you say, oh wow, yeah, it looks like you're in for some rough times. It's, I don't know what to tell you except here, Whatever it is, it's an opportunity for the person to chant Hare Krishna, to take a book, to do something that will help them in Krishna. Because otherwise it's all rubbish, All the numbers are meaningless. Every number is meaningless without Krishna. And with Krishna, every number has value. So somehow or other add Krishna.
And can I ask one more question on the topic? Sorry. I
have a lot of these questions. Oftentimes, these New Age people will also only, let's say, engage in something beneficial if they have this warm feeling inside that they really want to do it, and then in the same sense, they might not do something auspicious because they don't have that warm, fuzzy feeling inside. So how can I maybe sometimes encourage them, actually, this is something dharmic that you can do?
Do you mean to say, how can you give them a warm, fuzzy feeling about Krishna consciousness? Is that what you're...
I guess that's a nice way to put it, yeah.
Just say something bona fide about it. And there's so many benefits to Krishna consciousness. Greatest welfare activity. It delivers people from the ultimate cause of all suffering. And it's up to you what Krishna may inspire you to say. Just say something bona fide from the books. Encourage him to, if you have a tendency to give charity, that's wonderful. If you have a tendency to help others, that's wonderful. Just use it for Krishna.
Thank you.
Last question, maybe.
Maharaj, this paragraph in which the pilgrims takes a bath, worship the deity and give charity. They are also recommended to fast one day. They should go to a place of pilgrimage and stay there for at least 3 days. The first day is to spend fasting, and the night they can drink a little water, and because water does not break the fast. The point is, why should in previous era, even I don't know how much the people are following nowadays, even in sannyasi, don't know, because of the dynamic conditions and everything. So why was the concept of going to a pilgrimage staying for 3 days only? Why not 4, 5, 6, 7?
Well, so after 3 days, we may start to think this is just an ordinary place. You settle into the routine, and you start treating everything as being ordinary. When you go for 1, 2, 3 days, everything's very special. And then, so before what's the word, complacency or humdrumism kicks in, move on. That's before you start committing offenses, before you get entangled in some material considerations, move on. That's the general idea, as far as I understood. If one has service to do, you can stay on and on. If you don't have service, then stay briefly, and then move. What takes more than 3 days when you visit a holy place? If you're hearing from saintly people, then stay for years. Otherwise, come and go. Okay. Should we have kirtan now? What do you think? Should we have kirtan now? Okay. Let's have kirtan. Who's leading? And you can take this microphone. It's better.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare